Rb26 little single part 2. Welcome back, guys. In this episode I'm going to start pulling things off the 26. The ultimate goal is not to rebuild it, basically just give it a freshen up. So if your motor's out of your car or you're RB swapping something, I'd probably recommend doing something similar. So that is replace the timing belts, tensioners, do the water pump, and just make sure the pan's nice and sealed, as well as front rear main seals, cam seals. So what I'm going to show you in this video is Rb26 specific, but the timing side of it, which will probably be next episode, is the same for Rb20, Rb25. Not so much 30 or single cam 20s, but yeah, enjoy. Alright, here it is on the stand. I'll just give you a quick idea of what state it's in. Alright, let's do this. So as a part of the single swap, I'm going to remove all these vacuum and water lines that go behind the head. They're a pretty common thing to let go on high K Rb26s. These hoses start to leak, they just break down. Be happy to get rid of those. That's how it's done. Okay, so two of the exhaust manifold studs came out with the nuts, so that's good. I'm going to replace them. I didn't replace them last time, as you can see. The plating still looks pretty good on them, but I think it's about time we replace them, considering some of the ends are getting a bit rusty. So just like taking out any stud the easiest way. Try that one first. We're just going to lock two nuts against each other and try and back them out. fingers crossed we don't have any issues. So this one that I'm doing now, this is just one at the back of the head. Holds the water lines. This is an exhaust manifold stud. Piece of piss. Alright, so all the studs are out, they all came out easy. I think I'm going to have to take the engine bracket off to get to this. A quick note while I'm here, these are R32 GTS-T brackets. I think they could be GTR, I'd have to have a look. From memory, they are different to R31s. So I actually ended up slotting the cross member where this stud goes into to move the engine backwards, just because this bracket is so hard to change with the turbos on. Yeah, I'll probably just put it back in how it is for now, because it sits nicely with these brackets and with the slotted cross member. So I'll take this one off now so I can get to this. After lots of swearing, cracked it with one of these. I didn't have a shifter either big enough or strong enough. It just wanted to open up, so the gasket's in really good condition. It's a shame, but I will replace it. This is interesting. That's a head just from the casting. There's a gallery there that's got a screw-in plug. It's been leaking a little bit. Quick shot with the gaskets off. Everything looks pretty normal. Alright, so I'm just going to spin it around now. We'll take off the power steering pump, take off the alternator, the timing cover, the CAS, all the front of the engine. So interestingly, the timing belt looks really good. Can't see any cracks or anything in it. I will be replacing it because I've got one here. When I first put the motor in, I didn't replace it because it did look so good. It still looks pretty good, but you know, it's getting on now. Like I said, that was 2012. It is a genuine Nissan one that's on it. So the balancer bolt on these things is actually a 30mm. The recommended torque spec is 446 Newton meters. I think it starts at that range and goes up to 460 or something. That's really fucking tight. That's hanging off a breaker bar with all your weight tight. So there's a few forum posts about how to get these things off. I guess it will be the ultimate test for this. I've had this for, I don't know, 6 years. Haven't found anything that it can't take off yet. So we shall see. Piece of piss. So I've seen people use claw type pullers on these balancers. It's probably what happened here. That was like that when I got it. It doesn't seem to be affecting the performance. This is the kind of puller that you want. I think these are M6 bolts. They didn't come in the set, I just bought them. But the set just comes with all these bolts and comes with this main shaft here. It's just making sure this end bit doesn't go in there, but that's alright. Never actually had this balancer off. 30 years worth of shit in there. Just want to tighten these down, don't go nuts. Just so it's got full purchase. As much thread engagement as you can get on there. And that's it, so you can see how it works. Pretty straightforward. It's starting to get dark. Not liking how much force I'm having to put on this. don't want to strip the threads off those M6 bolts. I've actually got some exhaust washers and the exhaust washers off these manifolds, as well as some smaller washers to stop that thing from pulling through, but even still, I don't like how tight this is. I definitely don't like it now. Something's given. Success, no damage done. I'll just take this cover off. Guessing all this oil, the more I open this, the more it looks like it's just from the power steering. I thought it could have been a front main, but a little bit rusty. Other than that, it doesn't look too bad. Front main looks good. NSK, idler and tensioner, so it's probably all factory or at least genuine stuff. It's pretty good. Like I said, I'll probably leave the belt on until I'm ready to change it over. Okay, so now we'll pull off the coil packs and the igniter. If you look down in there, you can see it's actually pretty disgusting. A few years ago, the car was off the road for a couple of months and I had some rats nest in here. Pretty disgusting stuff. Put this engine stand to use so we can have a better look at the inlet side. For those who haven't seen underneath one of these before, that's what it looks like. Too complicated. So coming from an RB30 to this, I was just like, what the fuck is all this shit? Just really simply, this is a oil and water cooler. Depends how you look at it. Both oil and water are circulated throughout it. So it kind of brings your oil up to temp faster, and it also cools it if your oil's really cooking. So I'm going to ditch that. This is your idle control. There's also another little plastic valve at the back here. I'm actually going to remove that one, and that's it's like a cold start compensation valve, but it fails open, so it gives you a high idle. So I'm just going to bypass that one. I did take this off when I put it in the other car. I took a lot of this stuff off and cleaned it up. Block that. That's your blow off valve line. There's a whole heap of other vacuum lines here that I've already blocked off with lines with bolts in it. So basically going to strip all that off. A whole heap of hard water lines here. You can see the shit that's on that. That's a main water line. So I actually had to get my head around a lot of this stuff just to figure out which way the water flows. So generally the water comes out of the back of the block here, and from the turbo setup comes round the back, and then eventually works its way this way, and a lot of things tee in, and then finally finishes up going in behind the thermostat. So I'm going to keep this fitting. Hopefully I can clean it up a bit. We're going to delete hopefully a fair few of these vacuum hoses as well. So at the moment I'm just going to start pulling things off and we'll see how we go. So the heater hoses on an R31, they're actually on this side, which to me makes more sense, but in later model Skylines they've got them on the other side of the firewall, so the exhaust side. So that on this they're nice and short. From memory, this is a factory R31 top hose on the bottom, and I think this is a VL bottom hose on the top. Don't quote me, that's just from memory. So go ahead and take all this stuff off. This one I'll definitely get another one, exactly the same hose. This one I might come up with something different. Now of course I can't take out this bolt
because the filter's in the way, so I've got to take off the filter. So spin it back round, take the filter off. Okay, so I managed to get that's the main water line that goes under there, so get rid of all that shit, and these are just a couple of vacuum lines that go along with it. There's that bolt that held the lines as well, so I'll have to find a shorter one of those, no big deal. This one back here, so that comes round, and that's that cold start valve that I was talking to you about behind there, and that just comes back up here and into the plenum here, so basically acts as a bypass. End up putting a plug here and a plug where it comes in on here as well. So it looks like this whole little subloom here, at least from here onwards, all we've got is the two knock sensors. That was for that valve that we're removing. And that looks like an oil pressure potentially, which we wouldn't be using anyway. So from all of this, and we've got two wires up the top here for the idle control. So I might actually just remove all that, tidy it up, and all we really need under here is the knock sensors and this one, so that should tidy that one up. And I do have a gauge inside the car for oil pressure. It was screwed in here. This is the factory location. There is an allocation on the block that is unused in an Rb26, but that's the position that it uses. Rb30 takes the pressure, which is just behind here. I'll show you that after. I'll go ahead now, remove the knock sensors. There's that subloom. It's even got a plug, so looks like it's been hacked up previously, spliced, joined. I've never really liked the look of it, so might see what we can do as far as replacing it. So I'm going to go ahead now and take off this assembly, and then it'll make it easier to get to that last valve under there. And after that's off, that's pretty much the extent of the things that I'm going to pull off. Okay, so there was 4 bolts and a stud, so this should just break free now. So you can see it's looking a bit more simpler. That's that valve I've got to take off. This is where the knock sensors were. This oil filter stud on a Rb30, that's the only one that I know that works this way. The filter screws right onto this, is replaced with a actual a threaded section, so the filter spins on and seals against this face here. This has obviously got a gasket on it. Rb20s, although they don't run the coolant through, they've just got like a aluminium block that bolts onto here and the filter screws onto that. I think 25s have a similar setup to this, this oil water heater cooler type arrangement, but like I said, I'm just trying to simplify things. I don't really think it adds anything. Not in Australia, maybe in colder climates. You can't really say it functions well as an oil cooler. Yeah, so I'm going to replace that one. I've got the stud to do that as well. So I'll just go ahead now and take off this valve. While I'm here, I'll just crack off the thermostat housing. Don't know how well that comes across, but it's actually really clean in there compared to when I first bought it. It was rusty as, so that's good. The water does look pretty soupy, but overall there's not the rust inside the block. Doesn't look too bad. One thing that I will investigate, this injector is caked in what looks to be oil, but it's wet compared to the rest. So I did notice that when I pulled it out, but if we flip this over, under here we can also see that same oil. So there's oil on this, there's oil up here, so I'd be very interested to see what's going on.
If you like the content, make sure you subscribe for further updates on this 26 freshen up and ultimately the single swap. So like I did mention, next episode is going to be about finishing off the timing. We do a bit more strip down, and then we'll start cleaning the block, painting the block, and yeah, putting on all the go fast bits. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.